Quick turnaround for the Reading game. Any squad changes? Anybody back? Anybody out that we're not expecting?
No, it's as is. Ender's been on the grass today, so he's getting that little bit closer. So we'll continue working here while we travel down there. Apart from that, it's the same.
Update on kind of Brewster and Norrington Davis, where they're at and their potential chances of featuring before the end of the season.
Yeah, still progressing. Yeah. Still progressing and be ready when they're ready type thing.
But are you still hopeful that will be before the end of the season?
Yeah, but pointless we're saying, yeah, we're going to see them before the end of the season, something happens, so yeah, they're just progressing with their rehab.
Any kind of takeover or embargo updates that you've heard, or any timescales that you've heard?
No.
Last one on this. We're into March. Any kind of contract negotiations started with any players that you're aware of?
No.
Are you
We can't.
What was your conversation with the players after the Blackburn game once you'd had a second look at the performance?
Yes, we've looked at it this morning. I pretty much knew what I was going to see. But it's like I said, it was important to get some clear things out of it. Not just the Blackburn game, last 5 games. Some clear things where we want to put our focus going forward, because things always change throughout the season, whether that's us and our form, opposition's approach to playing us. Yeah, so it's important that we address that and we can see clearly what's happening, what's changing.
Because obviously you can look at the 3 games that you've lost recently in isolation. When you look at it overall, are there any kind of themes that concern you about the team's form at the minute?
Yes, themes that are apparent are, so in the last 5 games, I mean, Tottenham, we didn't create a lot, but even so in the last 5 games, actually chances per game, we've gone up. So we want to score more goals. Listen, I think Saturday's game is a good example of all areas, so with the ball, without, so we want to score more goals. I thought Blackburn, when we won the ball, got back in shape really well and made it difficult. We passed the ball really well first half and we did have opportunities, but I still don't think that we performed in a way which we're happy with and how we want to look when we've got the ball and the intensity that we want to play at. And then flip that without the ball. You see the first half, 3 opportunities for Blackburn, 2 were counter-attacks and 1's a ball in behind that we should deal with. And that's sort of a pattern as well in itself. So yeah, they're the things and they're the issues that we dealt with on Saturday. But they are apparent we have faced these things throughout the season as well, where teams have been trying to just try and dominate counter-attacks against us and try and drop in and make it difficult for us to play against them. So we've been in this position before, and I think it's important that we recognise it and try and address it in the same way.
Yeah, so given that, are you kind of confident that your players and yourself have got the ideas and the response to be able to deal with all that in the next few games?
Yeah, we've got clarity, we know it, but you've got to perform. Like I said, we've still got an identity and a way we want to play, and I think that's more important to me. We don't just want to look, I think I said after the game, I got shown the stats again this morning, but they don't mean anything to me, because yes, statistically you'd say yeah, you'd win 8 out of 10 games of that if they were. We still didn't play how we want to look, you know, and how we want to dominate, and that's important. I don't want anything about us to be average. I don't want us to go into a game and hope to win. I want us to try and impose ourselves and be the team that we want to be to win. And to do that, your big players need to perform, and probably the easiest way to look at it, we've got some good players, and I don't think there'd be anyone happy with the performance on Saturday. You know, they would think they could do better. So regardless whether we had good patches, moments, we weren't at the levels that we want to be at.
Because you talked a bit after the match about mental and emotional fatigue a little bit. Does that surprise you, given the experience and quality that you have within your playing squad?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Listen, we were speaking about it this morning. There's certainly no physical fatigue. We had a quick turnaround. We're in. Listen, it can become like day after day. We have been in a lot. I get that. I know that. Preparing and doing things, but that's the schedule. We have to get used to it. So I think there's a responsibility on me and the staff, but also the players, to make sure we are fresh enough when we get into games. Physically, that's easier to look after than mentally, you know. mentally we can do all we can to get recharged, get that focus, but there's also then the responsibility on the individual to understand what they need away from the training ground when you're at home and things. So yeah, all those things are important when we're coming into, like I said, games midweek, weekend.
Does the fact that a lot of the players that you still have been through this before, have been promoted to the Premier League, will that help from that kind of emotional, mental perspective over the coming weeks?
They know what we're talking about. The feedback from the players today was, yeah, it was good, and it was good in terms of it was on the point, it was focused, it was honest, and it tied in with exactly what we could show them. You know, they were right, they were spot on.
Because I imagine, from this squad's perspective, given that there are a number of players late 20s, kind of early 30s, is it more of a conversation when you go over a game rather than you standing there and just telling them what you think's good or bad?
No, I think what's important is for me when I open it up, I want to see what their understanding is, rather than me be speaking and then I know they'll just regurgitate. The one might want it over with, they regurgitate what they think I want to hear. So I try and get rid of that and don't allow them to do that. So I think that was me this morning. Was the thought behind it. However, on top of that, then it's still clear as day when we're going through things to highlight things that aren't us and reasons behind a chance we may concede, you know, or reasons behind why we're not turning these opportunities into goals, you know. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Me checking where they're at and how clear they are with where we are, and then likewise me and the staff make it as clear as possible in, look, this is the direction we're going in.
I know you talked about a number of your kind of bigger players not being at it at the weekend, but I wanted to ask about Sander Berger and just kind of how far at the minute you think he is from his best right now, because that is something that continues to be brought up by supporters.
Yeah, listen, it does, and I don't get involved in it because there's been times when I've been asked questions here about it when I've been delighted with him in his role and he's helped us win games, keep clean sheets. And then he had a couple of games where he scored, assisted, and people are talking how well he's done. And I think, well, the only thing difference is he's scored and assisted here, because I've seen him leave runners there and miss that tackle. Do you know what I mean? So I don't tend to get involved in that.
Do you think there's more that can come from him, though, at the minute?
100%. Big player for us, 100%. But like I said, not just Sander. We expect more from everyone. I look at the front two Saturdays, midfield, experience and dominance of centre-backs, how creative as wing-backs can be. So everyone had moments, but likewise, everyone who were on the pitch would know that they can perform better.
I suppose you can kind of understand why people focus on Sander with, you know, his quality and the price tag and everything else. Because
Sander doesn't bring that. That's not Sander's fault, is it? All Sander's bothered about, all Sander's role is to perform his role for the team. That's it. What other people think or consider is down to them. He hasn't asked for any of that. And like I said, he certainly don't behave in a way which courts any of that attention or adulation, or not at all. He's a selfless player for us, and he's a motivated player and person to be as good as he can be.
So from your perspective, and this is not just Sander, it's more wider, do you expect kind of your bigger players to respond to this and to deliver enough over the coming weeks to get you up?
Yeah, we've got to. If we don't go up. Everyone knows that. This is the job that we're in. We choose to be in. You're judged on results, and like I said, that there's always that dilemma. Results can paint over things. We're bothered about the performance, you know. So our approach, if we'd have won the game Saturday, would be the same. I think what comes with the negative result and everything is everything around it. Any sort of negativity, backlash, things that you have to deal with. I think that's what comes with the results. And likewise, when you're going the other way and you may be winning, but we know we've not been at our best, or we know that's not good enough to get us where we want to be, we can't also then get carried away with nice things that's said as well.
I know it's clearly a different game, but how much does Middlesbrough's 5-0 win against Reading at the weekend impact the game tomorrow night?
Well, I would have thought, from me knowing Paul, and he'll want a reaction from his players, without a doubt. May mean there's changes in terms of personnel formation, so terms of that for us, it doesn't do us any favours predicting that type of thing, but I'm more bothered, especially after Saturday and what we spoke about, I'm more bothered about what we produce and how we perform.
Because I imagine from your perspective, immaterial of whatever happened there, it is about kind of looking at what happened in that second half in particular and putting that right tomorrow.
Yeah, I think there was a 10-minute spell in the second half. Right at the start, not bad, and then literally a couple of minutes in, we had a 10-minute spell up until 60 minutes. We started making changes where, yeah, we saw lots of things, like I said, lots of things that aren't us and players won't be happy with. So that's important. It's important to identify what those things are and why they can't happen.
Given kind of recent form, the fact this is your game in hand, does it feel there's an extra kind of significance on this one in terms of showing everyone and getting that 3 points ahead?
No, I think they all are. Massive significance for me on the last one. They all are. Obviously, a game in hand's great because you know if you win it, you're extending the gap. And it's like I said, the position we're in the league, every game now is big. Every game, and it's always about what we do, not anyone else, because of the position we've got ourselves in. And likewise, that gap is going to chop and change all the time, so we're not going to mirror each other's results. But again, with it being a game in hand, it means we're in total control if we make that gap bigger or not. And so that's what we have to aim to do.
Just some thoughts on Reading finally and where they're at right now and the challenge they pose, because they seem a bit Jekyll and Hyde at the minute. The home record's good, the away record's bad. I mean, is it difficult to make of them where they're at?
Yeah, so I think, well, you've just hit it there. I think one of the more consistent things of Reading this season has been the home form. We have to prepare for that. That's where they've tended to get the results from the start of the season continually through. And we have to prepare for that. We have to prepare for a well-organised team who wants to rebound after a poor result and who generally at home have been tough to beat.